Hello dear students! In our lesson today, we're going to deal with some writing. More specifically, we're going to see how to write a paragraph giving some advice, or we are going to see how this informal email is going to be in order to give some advice. So, let's start directly. Always we're given the rubric, so what we are asked for. We need to read it very carefully to understand what is being asked from us. So this is an extract, from an email that you received from your English-speaking friend Jake. The extract says, "I am so afraid of dogs. I can't go to friends' homes that have dogs. And I feel terrified every time I see one in the street. What can I do?" So this is part of an email that you have received. Now, what you should do, write Jake an email giving him advice about what to do. And we are given the limit of the words, 120 to 160 words. Okay, let's imagine that you have this rubric. There are some questions that you need to ask yourselves before starting writing. You cannot start directly before thinking of some things. So the first question that you should ask yourselves, what do you have to write and who to? If you look in the end, you need to write an email, of course, giving advice. To whom? To Jake, of course. So that's the first thing to keep into your mind. Another question that you should think of. What style will you write in and why? Since we are writing to a friend, to our friend Jake, it means that the style should be informal. You're writing an email to a friend. So you cannot write in a formal style. It wouldn't be the appropriate style. Another question that you should keep into your mind, that you should think of. Which of the following greetings or endings could you use? So how will you start this email? And how will you finish this email? For example, can you start, "Dear Jake," and "Yours sincerely, Dan"? You cannot start it in this way, because this shows that it is a formal email, but you're writing to a friend. So you can say, "Hi Jake," and in the end you can finish, "Best wishes, Dan." Or you can start by Jake and you can finish with "Regards, Dan." So these two phrases. And another question that you should keep into your mind. Which of the following pieces of advice could you give to Jake? Can you think of any more advice, any more pieces of advice? So, since Jake has a huge problem with dogs, he cannot go to his friend's house because he's really afraid of dogs. You can tell him that he can watch dogs from a distance, or for example, he can take a friend's dog for a walk. Or why not ask for some professional help? And of course some others that you can think of. Now we have a model of how to write an email giving advice. Even if you have problems with your writings, always refer to the model. This is going to help you how to make sure that you include the appropriate paragraphs and the appropriate expressions. You cope with that, you can look at that, and then give your own ideas, but always refer to that. So let's start the email together. Of course, we write to Jake, and the email is from Dan, and the subject is "Please help," or you can put any other subject you want. We start the email in an informal way, we said. So, "Hi Jake. It must be awful to be afraid of dogs, but I think I can help you get over it. Just remember that it is a very common phobia, so you are not alone. So what do we do in the first paragraph? Since we say it must be awful, it means that we sympathize with this person. We understand that this person has a problem, so we express our sympathy and we give the reason why we write. We want to help this person, so I think I can help you get over it. So in the first paragraph, we express our sympathy, so we say that we are really sorry that our friend feels like that, and we write the email in order to give some pieces of advice. We continue with the second paragraph. The best thing to do is to try to conquer your fear, so to try to get over that by going to sit in a park. It would be one idea, for instance, and watching dogs with their owners from a distance. So we give one piece of advice. And the result is, this way, you will gradually get used to dogs. Another piece of advice now, the second piece of advice. If I were you, I would find somebody you know with a very friendly dog and ask them if you can take it for a walk. And the result for that, then, once you are holding the dog's leash and are leading the way, you will gain confidence, you will feel confident, you will feel secure, and see that there is nothing to fear of. And if this doesn't work, another piece of advice now, you could go and talk to a counselor, and a professional will know exactly how to help you. So in the second paragraph, what do? We give some pieces of advice, we gave 3 pieces of advice and the possible results. And in the last paragraph, I really hope these ideas are useful. Let me know how you get on. Best wishes, Dan. So, we express our hope that things will get better, and we finish our letter with best wishes or another informal way, love, regards, and the name Dan. So that was the model, the 3 paragraphs, and what we should include in every single paragraph. We have some expressions now of how to express our sympathy in the first paragraph that we said, and how we can open the letter. For example, I'm sorry to hear that you have this problem. I think I can help you, or it must be really awful to feel like that, and I'm only too glad to help you and to give you some advice. In the second paragraph, that we combine giving advice and the result for every advice that we give. So why don't you try this? Or if I were you, I would do that. Or why don't you? Or you could, you should. It would be a great idea. Another thing for you to do. And don't forget that every time that you give one piece of advice, you need to give the result as well. If I were you, I would do this. By doing this, something is going to happen. So, expressing the positive results, of course. If you do this, then this way, if you follow this advice. And how we're going to close our email. I hope I've helped you. Let me know what happens, or write and tell me how things get on. Now, we've got 2 boxes, and we need to put those expressions that we learned in these 2 boxes, whether they give advice or they express the result. For example, the best thing to do, we're going to use this in order to give some advice to our friend. And what about then? Of course, we're going to say then and this way in the result. So the best thing to do is, for example, to go and see a counselor. This way you won't feel that afraid anymore. Or we can say, if I were you, I would watch more documentaries about dogs, for example. Then you feel much more confident. Or we can say, you could, for example, talk with a friend. So 3 different ideas of how to give advice and how to express the result of your advice. Now, we have some problems and we have 4 different pieces of advice. We need to match them. Please take a look at the pieces of advice and I'm going to read the problem. Number 1. I'm so afraid of spiders. I can't stay in a room if I know one spider is there. What kind of advice can we give to that person? Take a look at the possible answers, please. You can also use one of the expressions that we dealt with, and we can say, why don't you speak to a psychologist? They will help you get over your fear of these creatures. So that would be one idea. Another problem. I have a difficult exam next week. I am afraid I will fail. What possible advice can we give? Take a look. We can say that either meditating or breathing, but this is much more for your exams. So if I were you, we can start in this way. I would try meditating or doing yoga. This will help you to study and relax. Another problem. I am terrified of traveling by plane. I can't go on holiday with my friends. This is a huge problem. What can we tell our friends? Take a look between A and D. We can tell our friends, we can give him some idea, we can tell him, it's a great idea to do some internet research about flying. In this way, you will discover how safe it is. And our last problem, I have to give a presentation in class soon. I am worried I will make a fool of myself. This is a problem. And one piece of advice would be, it's a good idea, or you should, for example, try to breathe deeply and look your audience in the eye. Their approving nods will give you the encouragement you need from them. So as you saw, when we had the problem, we gave the advice by using one of the expressions, and also we gave the result of this advice that we gave. So it is always a combination of advice and result in every single problem. And one more thing, we have the advice and we have the result. Let's match them, please. Don't forget to use the expressions. So, if I were you, for example, I would imagine myself at the barbecue feeling relaxed and confident. Now we have another problem. It was the problem with, there is a problem with a boy that doesn't feel in a very good position when being in a barbecue. So we're giving some advice. What would be the result of this? If you do this, for example, so if you feel relaxed and confident, you will enjoy the barbecue as you are already expecting it. Another advice: why don't you ask a friend to go with you? In this way, or if you do this, or then, you won't have to face your fear alone. Or another advice: you should focus, for example, on other people instead of your feelings. This way, you will hopefully forget your anxiety and start enjoying yourself. Again, we had the pieces of advice and we had the possible results. Since we gave the model, now for homework, you have got the rubric. So this is part of the email that you got from your friend Angie. The problem, let's read the problem. I'm going to my cousin's barbecue next week, but I don't know any of his friends. I get very nervous and afraid when I have to meet new people. So this is the problem. Please help. So you are going to write an email to Angie giving her some advice. So don't forget to include the 3 paragraphs. Don't forget in the first paragraph to express your sympathy and to tell her that you are going to help her. In the second paragraph, you are going to give 3 pieces of advice, and every single time to accompany the advice with the result. And in the end, of course, you are going to close the email by saying that hopefully you have helped her a lot. Thank you very much for paying attention. Take care.